What's going on, people? Ryan here from the Creative Lens, and in today's episode, Wade and I are going to be talking about the potential TikTok ban, which is being proposed by the United States government on the very popular social media platform. Also, before we get into it, don't forget to give us a like and a follow on our podcast. It's very much appreciated and helps us grow what we're doing here. So without any further ado, let's get into today's episode. So do you know much about the security side of the TikTok thing?
No, although I have heard that, I know that there were concerns about them, taking people's data, but I don't know much else about it.
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of the actual security things, but the US they look like they're pretty going hard in the paint about trying to get this bill passed. So I was reading up, it's past the House of Representatives level now. The president signed off on it, and then it's got to go through the Senate, which I'm not up on what that process looks like, but just from a layman sitting in another country halfway around the world, looks like they're pretty serious about this.
Yeah. Like, I have to admit, I don't really know much about it, but I remember reading it and thinking like, oh man, that's interesting. I haven't heard of a really mainstream social media platform basically getting banned, so it'd be interesting. It'd be like almost like Facebook getting banned back in the day, but it definitely it's interesting to see, because it just goes to show you it doesn't matter how big and powerful you are. If you do the wrong thing, or if you do something that they don't like.
Allegedly,
yeah. Oh, well, I'm sure that none of those social media. I mean, have you ever had that experience where you have a conversation with someone, next thing you know, Facebook's serving up the ads, and you're like, wait a minute, I only spoke about, buying a BMW to my mate the other day. Now I'm getting BMW ads. Like,
mate, you sound like a conspiracy nut. Don't know what you're talking about, Wade.
Well, but, I better take off my tinfoil hat so we can actually.
No, that happened. That's just microphones on, right? With all your apps and that. So, but look, if I know people who have big TikTok accounts, like over 500,000 followers, and it's their business. That's how they make their money. And if it goes through, like you're talking about 170 million users in the States, just wiped off the map effectively overnight if it goes ahead. So that's a massive chunk out of their business, because you would imagine the US would have huge influence on, just say hypothetically, TikTok gets banned, and then somebody who's actually moving quite quickly now to develop an alternative US friendly version of it, like under a different name, it's a massive platform shift, particularly if your business, because do you stay on the old platform, which is banned in the States, or do you jump on the new one? Must be nervous times, man. It must be nervous times for those people who have big TikTok accounts and it's their business and the core part of their business.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, for one, obviously, I would test it out because, I'm an Australian and most of my audience is American. Most of my money, actually, I wouldn't say like the vast majority of it, but it's the biggest chunk country-wise of my income is pretty much from America, which is cool. But yeah, if suddenly America decided to ban YouTube, I'd definitely be in a little bit of a panic. So, but I guess I know that you were saying, because I know that the guys you're talking about, I'm pretty sure like they got a pretty decent following on YouTube too, I'd imagine, but nothing like what they've got on TikTok. So I guess it'd be one of those things you kind of want to double down, wouldn't you? But it always helps to have some insurance. I know we've said it in the past. One thing especially like last year, I remember I started an email list to kind of like have a bit of backup. I think it's really important to get that email list up, especially if you're selling products. It's different if you're talking about sponsorship on social media. Because you can't really use your email list to sell to that, but at least you can use your email list to move someone from one platform to another. That's like one thing. It's good to have a backup platform, or I definitely think a mailing list for most people.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much getting into the meat of our episode today, is talking about the importance of developing those or solidifying your business online in the case or in the event of something like this happening, isn't it? So, okay, so if like for you talk about the mailing list as the big one, like that's the main thing you got to look to develop. And you think so? I
think so, yeah. Mainly as backup. Obviously, I don't know if you could survive on a mailing list alone, because you always have to get people onto the mailing list. But I mean, it's pretty much been proven to be the best way to sell is via email for most people online. So I think building a presence and sending them back to your email list, because the other thing too is you can always back up your email list. So if anything ever happens, you can just move that list to another email platform and you kick off where you left off. So that is always like the nice insurance policy, I think.
Well, the biggest thing I think with email lists, and just from my own experience of being on the other end of receiving emails or being on an email list with like things I've signed up for over the years, is I think one thing people have to keep in mind with an email list, and if you're wanting to grow your audience and secure yourself via an email list, is make sure your email list is built upon value. Because just from my own personal experience, I absolutely hate just being constantly sold to. Like if you're on a list and people like you're getting an email every single day going, hey, why don't you buy this? Why don't you buy that? Why don't you look at this? Why haven't you bought this? Like I remember there was one where it was just like literally every day, like buy this, buy that. Why aren't you buying it? Like really like just hyper aggressive, and like I'm not going to mention that brand, but it virtually just put me off them straight away. I just like unsubscribe, get me the hell out of here. I don't want anything to do with that product.
That's such an important thing, man. I agree. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because it's, you can scare people off and it needs to be done properly because it should be treated almost like another content platform. But the difference is, especially if you're setting up like an autoresponder series, you only have to write that content once in an autoresponder series and everyone gets it as they sign up. And then that way you also get to walk them through in a particular order, which helps you deliver the content even better. But yeah, like literally my email lists, I had one for a blog years ago and I got a few thousand on it. I think I got it's like 3,000 or 4,000 on that particular list. And there was 9 months of emails and it was pretty much all value. And I think I sold 2 or 3 times on it, which is actually very unaggressive, but you know, it worked fairly well. And even my current business, like I sell my own products only once in the email list. And the other thing is I'm doing tutorials and there are solutions embedded into the tutorials. Not all of them. We're talking about once every so often. And that way it's organic. People just know that if they stick with it, they're going to keep getting information that helps them. And every now and then the solution that's presented is actually part of solving that problem. But it's just it's so unaggressive that people just think, wow, this is great. I'm getting all this for free. And that's kind of the key, isn't it?
Yeah. Like you've heard of Tim Ferriss?
Yeah. 4-hour work week.
yeah, that dude. I remember just listening to his podcast over the years, and he talks about his email list. I think it's got some sort of catchy name where it's like 5 for Friday or 2 for Tuesday or something. And it's very, very short. I think it's just dot points about, don't quote me on this, but my memory is telling me that it's something along the lines where he might send you 3 things or 5 things where they might be interesting articles or things that he's found interesting in the last week, month, whatever. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact content you might be putting out on YouTube, but it could be something which is related to it, which I think is just another avenue in which you can, reach out to your audience and actually just give people something of value that they're going to get something out of, which isn't necessarily just like buy my product, because when doing that, you're building the relationships with your audience, for the term I was looking for. So they're constantly just getting value. You're building trust with them. So when it does come time where you have a product, people are going to be a lot more inclined to have a look at it seriously.
Yeah, they basically start to like you after a while, and that's a big thing. The other thing too is, and that's right. There's a few ways of doing it. Like my general approach has always been through education and giving away some kind of freebie, and that's one of the good things is that if I have a free item that links to an email list, when I put that on YouTube or on my website, I get search engine traffic or YouTube search traffic to that, which also introduces people to me as well. So that is pretty handy for one, but. There's another, what you're talking about. There's a guy online called Olia. He's got a really calm delivery in his videos. He's actually kind of soothing to watch. But he is one of those guys who he mentions at the start of his videos. It's like check out my email list. I just share interesting things that I find intriguing. It's really just chill. He's not putting the hard sell or even saying, download my guide for free. He's just literally check out my mailing list, and he's got a ton. I could be wrong, but he's got he's either got tens of thousands or over 100,000 email subscribers, and he is making millions each year off his own products. But on top of that, if you just got a newsletter thing and it's like sort of themed around a niche, there are so many affiliate programs out there that once you build up an audience, even if you just mention certain services and products out of interest and just go, well, I'll pop my affiliate link in on that, before you know it, you're actually marketing without putting a sell on anyone. You're just saying, have you heard that such and such have released a new feature and like it does this, this, and this? It's really cool. And just an affiliate link off to it. Obviously, you have to disclose the affiliate links, but I mean, it's pretty organic.
Yeah, I think that's really good, man. Like, because the bottom line of all of this is like just give away value. Like if you do that consistently, and because like I don't want to say I'm the average person, but I hate getting sold to consistently. Hate it. Hate walking into a store, man. Like even if there's something I want to look at, because I just hate people coming up giving you like the sales speech, or like, when people are pretending, they're trying to pretend they like you.
The car salesman.
I've read enough stuff on sales over the years to know that like the tricks or the strategies that people are playing when they're trying to like build rapport and that. And it's just, sometimes it's just like, dude, just leave me alone. Like if you're just quiet, I'll buy something. Just don't hassle me and I'll buy something. I'm in your store. I'm looking at it. Like, just chill, bro.
I also wonder, like, where is the point of, okay, I'm selling something, or now I'm using tactics to convince you to really push you into buying something. Sometimes I wonder what the ethics are behind that. Just as a bit of a sideline note, because I push things, but at the same time, it's always just like, here, if you want it, grab it. It does this. If it doesn't, then, it's all good. But some people, man, it's just like, you want to convince your people to buy. You want to, like, sales, hard-driven sales. Like, I get it. From a business perspective, it makes you more money. But, I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to go, well, that's cool. But I also want to know that.
I think the thing with that is you got to know who you are as a person and the type of person you are. Like, if you're someone who just loves selling stuff, then and wants to like really push it, and that's your natural personality, then yeah, fine. Do you. But like if you're more laid back and you want to build, I think the thing is, I would, not being like some multi-billion-dollar sales person who gets up and speaks at conventions, just full disclaimer before I give this advice, I've noticed in business, if you want to have solid, deep, long-term connections with people, like you give away value. Like you make it, like you just constantly give away value, and people will buy from you when they're ready.
I think a big part of that is, like you were saying, you want to understand who you are and understand. I think when you understand the customer mindset, which at some point is probably where you were, and you can kind of look back at that to some degree. For in a lot of cases, not in all cases, but yeah, being able to go, cool. What am I here? What can I come to here that this person walks away and goes, wow, I got this and I got to leave with it. Like, I mean, you could look at that as a physical item, but I mean, like knowledge. Anytime you go, someone gives you a bit of information that'll help you to grow or just make things quicker, whatever it is, something. Yeah, it's just awesome when they can walk away with that. But so anyway, you go.
I was just going to say, people love to reciprocate, because I've had a bunch of times on videos like where you're just showing people like a quick little tip with a piece of gear, and like people throw you like, $2, $5 on PayPal, just like donate. Like, here, awesome, thanks for that. That was big game changer.
I got a guy.
So people love to reciprocate, man.
Yeah, they do. I had a guy on my channel when I launched my last digital product. He's left a comment on one of my videos, and he said, he goes, look, I don't actually want or need this pack, but I've gone ahead and bought it anyway because I love what you do. Keep it up. And it's just like, wow, that's cool. Put money in my pocket because he likes the value that is offered.
Well, that says a lot in itself, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So we've talked about having a mailing list and value in regard to like a bit of backup, but if you lost your main platform, you'd still have to drive people to the email list. So my question, first of all, if you lost your main platform, do you know how you would start again?
Are we? So this is we're doomsday scenarioing here.
Yeah. So for us, we've lost YouTube. Both of us have lost YouTube. How do we start again?
Well, okay. Let's define this one a little bit more. Is there another YouTube-esque platform that's like popping up?
That's a good question.
Or is it just we've literally just got a video sharing platform like is just not available anymore? It's all short form content like Instagram, TikTok.
I would say, okay, I think rather than answer that question, your process, I guess, is can I take something that I've got and find somewhere similar? And if not, move on to another one. So I would say, look, there's always going to be a similar platform. If YouTube went away, there's already platforms that are similar. They're just not as big. So I would say, like, yeah, let's say you got that. But would you then, what if that works or doesn't work? Obviously, if it works, then you're off and running again. But what if that doesn't work?
Okay. Well, I guess the thing is you would have to, if YouTube was wiped out and there was no other similar platform, which I could just simply transplant all of the content I currently have on YouTube to that, I would have to sit back and make an assessment on what the actual landscape is looking like in terms of where my potential audience for all my guitar content resides. So whether that's another platform or blogs, mailing lists, whatever, and then once that was clear and I had a clear idea on what that was looking like, then I would start tailoring content to that platform and potentially starting from scratch all over again. If that was the case, excuse me, and I did have to start from scratch again in a new format, creating new content, I would use the same principles that I did when I started my YouTube channel, which was, okay, I accept this is not going to be where I want it to be straight away, but I'm just going to get my repetitions in. I'm going to just constantly fine-tune things as we go, just constantly looking to improve little things. And over the long run, we're going to get there. So that's the approach I would take with that. What about yourself, man?
Yeah, well, first of all, so just to build on what you said, that was such an intelligent answer because obviously finding a platform that's similar means you can move your content. So that's obviously a nice, easy win. And then if it works, it works. I like the fact that you didn't just think what platform suits me. You were thinking what platform is my audience using? Because I feel like, and before I go into mine, which is probably going to be pretty similar, but like my answer to that question, I think that the fact that you're looking for them is good. And the fact that you already know about the value, you have some idea what people like, you're already miles ahead. And all you really need to be concerned with is learning that platform's what works for that platform, what people are there for. There could be minor differences, but I thought that was such a good answer. It's
well, the thing is, I think where a lot of people get stuck when they're trying to start, like we both run creative businesses and we're creative, like we're artists effectively. But where people get stuck is they fall in love with the product first when they're trying to come up with a business. They're like, if I can just invent, like I knew a guy, one of my clients years ago, like very wealthy, he threw $100,000 Australian after trying to develop a bottle with a, not Gatorade, Barocca, little multivitamin pill. Like you just drop in, like just dissolves in your water. So when you open it, the pill drops out into the water. He spent $100,000 on that because it's like, he's like, what a product. But it's like, man, it just fell on its face. But the problem is, where was the demand for that product? Like people have got to look for the demand first and then develop a product to suit that demand, not the other way around.
So true. So true. That is, yeah. Well, there you go. And it can be easy to get caught up in that. And that's why there's such an art to business. And when you look past all of the get rich quick or like, money making gurus that are on, say, YouTube, Instagram, where they have these very simple template style businesses, like all you need to do is this and you'll make $20,000 a month. Is that at the end of the day, you're starting a business and you need to do all the research and everything to make sure. But yeah, like for one, another thing to consider too, if I was to start again, first of all, I would consider whether I want to stay in that same niche or move to something different or pivot slightly. Because one thing I have done a few times is I have pivoted along the way. for, like, I started off with creating WordPress tutorials for building a website. And then I moved into some Photoshop. Then I moved into the AI art space, and I sort of did a lot of that stuff. And now I'm kind of stepping down WordPress, and I'm going, okay, I'm always looking at, I want to be someone who is, like, for visual creators, someone who gives information, tools, advice, tutorials. I would go, well, if I'm going to start again, if I don't have another platform to simply move everything over to, what is there anything I want to change before I do this? Because it's the opportunity. If you're going to be sitting in front of a whole bunch of new people, do I change anything about what I'm trying to do? But that's not necessarily a good idea, but it's just something of a personal choice. And if I had an email list, obviously I'd let everyone know where I'm going. But yeah, for one, your idea, looking and seeing, for one, where those people are, I would probably experiment with one or two and just pop a few bits of content out there and try and join in a few communities. Because the other thing too is sometimes you might go somewhere where there isn't a lot of content around your niche, but that could be like a really good opportunity, like some low-hanging fruit where you go, hey, this demand isn't being met here. I would consider that, but at the same time, if there's a bit of overlap, for example, if I'm on Instagram, I can post those images on Facebook and Twitter. So maybe I would go, cool, if I was thinking Instagram, hypothetically, I can still put that same effort elsewhere and just see where things go first. But eventually I would be looking to hone in on one, grow on that, and then expand from there. But yeah, learning that platform and basically trying to deliver that same value, or even look back at my old content and think, well, what were some errors or some things I weren't happy with? Could I fix that by starting again?
Because I think every platform has its nuance. Like, for example, with what we do with our tutorial based stuff, is it's YouTube, and YouTube is obviously has the potential to be more longer form, more in depth. Even though it's sort of, I felt particularly in the last 5 years, I feel like YouTube is that sort of attention span is getting watered down a little bit, and that's potentially with YouTube pushing hard into shorts, which is like a TikTok-esque thing, format. And also, I think TikTok has just had a huge influence on Instagram as well. Like, not that I was ever right into Instagram, but people have such short attention spans these days. Like, they're so distracted. And I think that's one thing you got to look at when you're making your content. Like, because we've spoken about it before, there's people who, not giving away clues who we're talking about, but there's people who have, let's say, catchy short form content, which is doing incredibly well in a views landscape. Like, their YouTube following is not great, and they're not making ad revenue, they're not making third parties off of it. They've just got eyeballs on them, and they just literally have the potential to make a business, but they just haven't made that step into turning what the content they're making into a actual money making venture.
Yeah. And even just if you're identifying a platform, that needs to be something to consider too. Because one thing about TikTok, I never got on TikTok, I never created a TikTok, but I don't think the platform even lends itself well to, being able to send people somewhere, send people to an email list or a product. It's difficult. With YouTube, you literally can put links in the description of every video and people can read them while listening to the video. Instagram, there's the whole link in bio, or you can put a link sticker in your stories, but it's a lot harder to get people off that platform. And even Facebook, you can share links, but I think historically the posts with links haven't done that well. So you need to make sure you can actually make that platform work, or look at the strategies for how to make that platform work to get them somewhere if you're selling a product. But of course, if you're thinking sponsorship and you just want to keep cranking out content, then that could be fine. But
it depends what you want to do, and it depends what your skill set is. Like, that's the other thing you got to take into account too when you're starting over again is, what's my actual skill set? What am I an expert in? What do I have world-class knowledge in and skills in? And I think it's because that's the thing, man. You can be I've seen people who just who are very good at one thing, and because they're good at one thing and they've achieved a level of competency with that, they think that is going to allow them to fast track the development from zero in another field. And in one sense, they're right. But in another sense, they're deluded with how quick they can actually obtain mastery with a thing. And I think everything takes time. Like, it doesn't matter what, because if, excuse me, if I had to transition to something completely different from what I'm doing, there's that old flywheel analogy where it's going to be tough to sort of recalibrate and get the momentum of that flywheel moving. Like, once it's moving, your skills are going to move in and then take hold and allow you to make other decisions. Like, for example, my own personal experience with all the work I did with writing and production in my 20s, I was sort of going, yeah, okay. And obviously my skill sets with guitar, being a musician, I'm like, okay, YouTube's going to be a piece of cake. And like, you get here and you're like, oh crap, I got to make videos. Oh crap, I got to present like I'm on camera. Like, okay, like, oh crap. And like, sometimes you just don't know what you're walking into, and you've just got to have that bite down on the mouth guard mentality. Just like, whatever, we're just biting down on this thing. Okay, it's going to take, because there's an old saying I like, man, doesn't matter whatever project, like grand project you're going to do, it's either going to take twice as long or cost twice as much to do, depending on which one you're doing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's true too. Because if you literally switch the media type, like you go from YouTube to Instagram or Instagram to YouTube, even if you have an existing skill and you have to move from one platform to another, then you have to relearn a different skill on top of that skill, and it just you really do have to have a broad skill base if you're planning on jumping back and forth. But I'll tell you one thought about that though is for one. So there's two things I want to touch on in regard to what you just said. For one, you are building that skill again, but two, the numbers game. Like when you're on YouTube, like, or any platform, if you've got 100 followers, you put something out, 5 people see it, it is so difficult for more people to catch on to that. But I know that when I had 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I pop out a video and 40 or 50 views was about what I could expect in the first week for a video. It was like 40 or 50 views. I've got over 60,000 now. If I get less than 2,000 views in the first week, then that's a low performing video. But the compounding nature of that, because I can reach so many more people, I can then reach, the flow on effect is so much larger. And then it's a whole different level of numbers to reach. And so if you're moving to a new platform, even if you are amazing at it, you're still going to have to work at the start to grow it. But the other thing too is, if you, let's say hypothetically, you move from YouTube, you can't take your videos with you to your new platform for whatever reason. There's always things out there, like there's Uscreen where you can pop your videos. Like you can actually take your content and go, well, if I'm going to get shut down for it and I still have all this content, I can just do some basic edits to it. Then you've literally got a product, a membership area you can build and put that content on. As long as it's premium content worthy, you can literally just create a membership or, charge a little bit for that content. And then you can start, creating valuable content on it. And then you've got a platform or a membership you can start with and then go onto your new platform. You might be able to start monetizing straight away, even though you don't want to just create a product without doing the research. The difference is the work's already been done. So that's thinking, you got to look at, I think everything you've created is an asset you could use as well. So it's, even if you're starting again, you might not necessarily be starting over again completely. You might just be rebuilding an audience.
Yeah, that's a very good point, man, about the assets, because I think it's important to keep, make sure you've got all your assets double backed up, triple backed up. For example, that's just say if you're a YouTube creator and you don't have all your videos backed up properly, say you've only got them backed up on one drive and YouTube just goes down, that drive fails, you got no content, you got no assets, you got nothing to start again. So it's super important to have all those videos just double, triple backed up, on separate drives, massive.
I know a guy. Just the other night, he's a school teacher. He also has a business on the side, but it's when he said to me, every year I buy a brand new external hard drive and I put the important information on that for that year. And anything that's not important, it's on older hard drives. But if the older hard drives die, it doesn't matter. It wasn't as important. Like, I think for a couple of $100 a year, buying an external hard drive, putting it there is good. Or I back up most of my videos onto Dropbox because the videos themselves aren't sensitive content, but I would never back up things like passwords or things like that, even though it should be secure. I keep that stuff pretty much in a physical thing in my room. So, but yeah, I think it's really important to look at what you have as an asset to say, okay, what can I bring to the next platform? Find the platform that's gonna, that the audience will actually be at, learn that platform, rebuild your audience, and then you can reestablish your business. And if you found that it working a certain way in the other platform, that might not carry over. So, like, for example, I can't say how much I make per sponsor, but I think I make a few grand, usually about at least $1 or $2 grand sponsorship wise every month on YouTube. I wouldn't necessarily be able to do that on something like Instagram or Facebook, but my products that I sell, I could probably make the same amount of money on that because the product has a set price. And if the audience number's the same and I can drive as many people, that'll all work out the same. So you gotta maybe restructure how you make your income with the new platform as well, I think.
Yeah, no, there's so many variables to look at, particularly once you're looking to how you can monetize your assets. But I think if we just try and wrap things up in terms of what are the key points, like you've got to have that foundation of, okay, where am I gonna, like the old who, what, when, how, like where's the platform, like who are you targeting, how are you going to do it?
Yep, I think accepting. I would summarize it the same way. It'd be accepting that you're going to have to relearn a platform, change things about your business, review your assets, and always build an email list. So that way the move is easier, you got backup, and yeah, you just got to bite the bullet and start again, pretty much. But at least you're not starting completely over again.
Well, and the thing is, like, that email list is insurance. That's like your lifeline. Like, so the stronger that email list is, like the stronger your backup, the stronger your security, the stronger insurance you have to start over again or keep propelling your current business forward. So there's multiple benefits to that email list. And maybe that's like a separate episode, man. We could actually sit down and have a talk about how to build that list. Like, that's proper strategies.
You know what? Let's do it. And I will say one thing, just as a little bit of a hook for that episode, that's also just something that popped into my head before we do wrap up. Any online business person that I have followed or spoken to who has had an email list, if they ever want to sell that business, the email list was a sellable asset and something that contributed to the price of the sale. So the bigger your email list, the more you'll be able to get if you decide to sell the business that you built.
Well, because I've heard people in the consultancy space constantly talk about, if you don't have an exit strategy, you've just got a job. So that's one. Like that's because there are a certain breed of people who just love to build things and flick it.
Yeah, and that's a thing in itself, isn't it?
That's a thing in itself.
Very cool.
Cool, man. All right. So if people have any questions, man, they could probably just drop it like on YouTube. It's probably the best way to get in touch with us at this stage. Right?
Yeah, I would say comments below the video is a good one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, do your best. See if you can make us laugh.
That's it. Yeah. Tell us your favorite business joke, or tell us that we're a joke. I don't care. But if you comment, it helps the algorithm. So please go ahead, say whatever you've got to say.
That pesky algorithm, man. Yep. All right, people. So Wade, where can our listeners find you if they want to check out your content?
So all the major platforms, I would say, search for Creator Impact.
All right. Well, for me, you can find my works at hpmguitar.com, which is the website. And then the YouTube channel is at hpmguitar. So I have an Instagram. I'm sure I've got a Twitter somewhere, but they're dead to me. All right, people. Have yourself.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Have a great week.